Boilermakers continue the long homestand this weekend as Samford comes into town. Purdue with a very successful opening weekend at Alexander Field, sweeping UAlbany. I'm Kyle Charters with Ben Turner and the head baseball coach Greg Goff for This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex. Coach, a good weekend to say the least. You guys really took it to the Great Dane, scoring 45 runs in 29 innings. The offense was great, but what I thought in particular was impressive about your team is I think it's really difficult in that fourth game,
right,
when you've won the series,
yeah,
and it's cold and you've played a lot of baseball in 2 days, to come out there with focus and be able to go out there and get the victory and to sweep a team is pretty impressive.
It was, and I thought our best game was the last game of the weekend. I really thought we were locked in. It started with, Jonathan on the mound. I thought he did a tremendous job of just the fastball command on both sides of the plate, just attacking guys. I just felt like he went to a different level on Sunday, and I just thought our team played really well, played great defense behind him, and I thought our offense was really, really good against their best guy. I mean, that was their best arm, and I just felt like we did a really good job with those guys for 2 days.
Yeah, those are long days when it's a little bit chilly outside. You're playing back-to-back doubleheaders. We don't do that a whole lot. Right. But in a lot of ways, I think the second games of each one of those double dips was more impressive than the first.
There's no doubt. And that's the great thing I love about this team, Kyle, is just, how our guys are ready to go. They haven't taken a day off at this point. They haven't just showed up and went through the motions. They know what's at stake on every game, and they know, we're trying to work towards getting to that 35-40 win plateau. And so those types of games, you got to take care of business, and I was very proud of how they showed up, the emotion that they had. It ain't like we're just sitting over there. I mean, our dugout's engaged, the players are engaged, our coaches are engaged, and it was a great weekend.
Couple factors I would point to in agreeing with Kyle in that the nightcap of the doubleheaders, I thought the team played better overall. Yeah. One, big innings to start first game of both days. Yeah. You're going to take those, obviously. But at the same time, it maybe puts there a little bit of a lull out there, like, oh, we're already up 6-0, right, that kind of thing. Two would be the pitching. You already talked about Jonathan Blackwell. Luke Wagner goes out there and follows up his shutout with another gem. Yep. Struck out 10, first time since Smeltz against IU.
Right.
In 22 that we had a guy with 10 Ks. So, man, the lefties looked really good out there in their starts.
They did, Ben. I thought they did really well. I mean, they set the tempo. We were fortunate enough to get some runs early, but, a lot of times, a team will just kind of sit back and coast through after you score an amount of runs. But when your pitching staff goes out there and continues to throw well and you play good defense behind them, it just keeps you engaged. And I think, as we all know, championships are won by pitching and defense, and those guys, I think, are continuing to get better. I think Coach Newman's did a great job with those guys and getting those guys ready each week. And at this point, they've given us a quality start every time.
Strong debuts from guys that made their first official starts or games at Alexander. Gaffney, Van Assen, Story, Gasser would be the short list. Even Corbin Malott
yes,
got his money's worth out of his first hit, and that helped set up that pseudo walk-off on Sunday. So love to see the guys get their first taste of game action, real game action at Alexander, and make it worth it.
There's no doubt, and that's the great thing about, when we were able to get out front of some teams. And so there's not many, probably a lot more, with our schedule as tough as it's going to be as we go through this thing, there won't be that many opportunities to do that. So you have to take advantage of that. That's why you saw me, bring in Olsen there and still letting Story finish the inning, just giving those guys a taste of getting out there on Alexander, getting on the mound, and just getting their first taste of it, really. But just really proud of all those guys. Corbin, of course, got the game ball that day just because he's such a great teammate. He works extremely hard, and it was great to see that big double down the line that he put in play.
Your left-handed bats in particular were very good this weekend. Particularly, I think Mike Bolton Jr., Cam Gasser, and Ty Gill were combined 17 of 32 with 11 walks and 11 steals. Those guys were, they were all over the bases. And when you have Gill 9, Bolton 1, Gasser 2, it creates situations at times where you really have some great speed out there.
Right.
Also. Just how much of an impact did those three guys have on sort of putting the pressure on the UAlbany defense?
Well, I think it starts with Mike and Cam at the top of the order. I thought Mike really had a good week of practice and preparation, and then I thought it took it to the game. This weekend was the best he's played, and he's instant offense. I mean, let's get real. When he's going good, we're going to go good, right? I mean, he's getting on base, he's hitting the ball, he's stealing bases. We're going to score runs, and so I think that it's all contagious, right? And I can't say enough about Cam Gasser. he has been so steady. His defense has been really good. His leadership's been great. His ability to get big hits. I don't think people realize how many 2-out hit, 2 RBI, 2-out, 2 RBI, hits that he's come up with. And again, this weekend was huge, getting those backside base hits there to left field with 2 outs and scoring some RBIs again. I just can't say enough about what that guy's doing for us.
Luke Gaffney again has another great weekend. He's Big Ten Freshman of the Week once again. It seems to me that he takes a very professional approach for a young guy to his at-bats. I mean, he is coming up there with a plan, it looks like, and executing that plan. And I don't know what the numbers say, but it feels like he has had a number of 2-strike hits where he's just trying to put the ball in play and put it out there somewhere. Even some, it feels like, on 0-2 counts, which has been impressive. I don't know what more you can say. I mean, he's been really good, and he had another good weekend. We'll talk to him coming up here on the show as well.
Sure. No, he's been great. We redshirted him last year with all the older guys that we had. We could have easily played him and the rest of Brody and some of those guys. But just looking for the future, it just felt like a year in the weight room, a year watching would make a big difference. And Luke has just taken it to a different level, People don't see the amount of hard work that he did over the last year. Mm-hmm. When everybody was playing, he was in the weight room and getting better and working in practice. And it's just the epitome of what he's done for the last 12 months, not just the last few months here, Kyle, to be honest with you. He's a hard worker, great guy, engineer student. And he has been such a huge plus for us in the middle of the order. And he's just consistent. He does a great job. Yeah, he does, but he kind of takes what the pitcher gives him and doesn't try to do too much. And so he's been really good for us.
We know you love the long ball, and you'll always take the long ball. Sometimes the weather and the stadium doesn't produce the long ball.
Yes.
There was plenty of extra base hits over the weekend, just not home runs. That said, tons of runs.
Right.
And that's because the style, you're geared to be able to score runs without an exorbitant number of hits sometimes.
Right.
And all the big innings were based on that philosophy, it felt like this weekend.
No doubt, Ben. I think, as an offense, you don't want to be stuck with only able to score one way. We try to tell our players all the time that you got to have multiple ways to score, because just like this weekend, we didn't hit one home run. And we hit some balls that should have been home runs, but the wind kept it in. And so you're right. Getting hit by pitches and stealing bases and creating offense is one avenue that we use this weekend. And I just feel like, as a coach, that you want to have multiple ways to score. And we've been able to do that in a different way, a lot of different ways here in the first 13 or 14 games.
Plenty of Sunday runs, 59 in your 5 Sunday victories. I call that putting teams away.
Well, my right arm is sore from throwing BP. My left arm is sore from scoring those guys. And again, I just can't say, what a great job, Chris and Seth are doing with our offense. I think our players are doing a tremendous job. Those guys are always in the cages. They're always working hard. I never drive by there and not have people over there. And so I just think these guys are just really committed to being as good as they can and really enjoying having an opportunity to work as hard as they do.
The homestand continues, Northern Illinois in the middle of the week, and then Samford coming in this weekend. Samford's a good program. Yes. What should we expect to see from them this weekend?
Well, we do. We'll have our hands full with Northern Illinois this week, and they're coming off a big series win on the road at Ohio. And then we'll see a really good Samford club that went to a regional last year, an older club, a club that's really experienced, has some really good arms. They're kind of like us. They have some guys that can hit home runs. They have some guys that can steal bases. They got some arms that can shut you down. And so we'll definitely it'll be a great test, maybe one of the better teams that we played so far this year with Samford coming in.
Weather should be a little bit better this week and into the weekend as well, so we'll certainly take that and hope to see you out at Alexander Field. All right, let's take a quick break. Coach, thanks as always for being with us. We'll bring in Luke Gaffney. That's coming up next this week in Purdue baseball. Prepare to hit the links at Ackerman Allen Course, Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex, opening March 16th. Secure your spot now at PurdueGolf.com. Welcome back to This Week in Purdue Baseball. Happy to bring in redshirt freshman Luke Gaffney, a 3-time winner of the Big Ten Freshman of the Week award, including this week you've had a really good start to your first season as a Boilermaker, at least one that's playing on the field. You've hit safely in 14 of 15 games this season. You've taken home the hardware for 3 weeks. How do you feel like it's going so far?
So far, so good. I'm glad to get to go out there and play, but I think the most important part is I'm glad we're winning, and I hope we keep on doing that because it makes baseball a lot more fun. So.
You redshirted last year, your first year, obviously, in West Lafayette. How did you spend that time to be able to put yourself in a position where you could make such a big impact immediately upon playing this year?
Yes, sir. Well, I mean, it's obviously a lot of work outside of practice, just trying to improve my skills so I can be in a position, like you said, to help the team. But a lot of it is also learning from the older guys. I mean, I was blessed with some great guys that were in front of me that taught me a lot along the way, and so it was honestly a blessing to work under them, so that helped a lot as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure your primary goal was to just be in the lineup. You didn't care where or what position or what have you. But to see that opening day lineup and then throughout 16 games now, middle of the lineup, first base, it has to be a dream start. I mean, so just kind of riding the wave kind of situation?
Yeah, I know. I definitely wouldn't have predicted this start. Like you said, I was really just fighting to be in the lineup, and I'm certainly glad to have this success. It's been nice, but the main thing is just to keep on focusing on the process and not necessarily results, because it's hard to control a lot of those results. But if I stick to what I've been doing, then that's all I can do at that point. So.
And a lot of things in life, Luke, are about being ready when the opportunity presents itself. And obviously, Breck Nowick's injury, unfortunate, but you benefited from it in some ways.
Yeah.
First base became open. That's a position that you had kind of been learning in recent years. When did that transition to first base kind of begin? Was it over the summer? Was it last year during the 22-23 season?
Yeah, so I played first base some in high school, but really this past summer, that's where I played pretty much all of our games in the summer. So to get familiar with the position defensively, that really helped a lot. I didn't really feel like, oh, this is a completely new position when Breck got hurt. So I'm glad I had some comfortability there. So I think that helped prepare me a lot for that.
That would have been in the Cal Ripken League,
Yes,
right?
sir.
The Southern Maryland.
Yes, sir. The Senators. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. So.
And at heart, do you still consider yourself a catcher?
Yeah. I mean, the goal is to catch, but honestly, whatever I can do to help the team, whatever I can do to get out there on the field, that's what I'm going to do. But ideally, it's still a catch. So.
You've played such a good defense at first base, maybe better than what we anticipated. I'm not sure you're moving back.
Well, fingers crossed, but we'll see. We'll see.
I'm not in charge, though, so perhaps you will. You've been very good at the plate, obviously, this season. It seems to me that your approach to every at-bat is a pretty professional one. I mean, you're coming up there with a plan, it seems like, and you've been able to get a number of two-strike hits as well. Just what is sort of your approach to each one of your at-bats?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd go so far to say professional, but certainly trying. But a lot of it has to do with like what Coach Marks and Coach LaRue have helped us with. I mean, every time before a game, we sit down and watch film on what the pitchers are doing, and pitchers have tendencies. So I try to use some of my brain to play to their tendencies and sit on certain pitches and certain spots and just try to play the game. And that's really what I've been going up there trying to do. And then two strikes, Coach Goff talks about it all the time, just trying to be as hard of an out as possible. And so just trying to battle pitches off and then fight until you get a good pitch you can handle, or just keep on going and try to draw a walk. So.
You had a 5-double day in Sugar Land on the second day of the season. How much of a confidence builder was that to be able to come out and hit the ball like that? Yeah,
that was awesome. It's kind of just a reminder, like, hey, like I can play here. So I mean, that's obviously a struggle, especially being a redshirt freshman. You haven't really proved yourself in any game.
Right.
So that certainly helped to instill that belief that I can play here.
Not to say that you're a dead pull hitter, but at least at Alexander this past weekend, perhaps in part because of the pitching you were facing, it felt like a lot of things were to the pull side.
Yeah.
As we continue along and the competition goes up another level, do you identify that as potentially a place where growth is still possible, to be more all fields? I know you had some opposite field power in Holly Springs, so we have seen it.
Yeah, well, that was honestly, it's kind of shocking because like before this weekend, most of my most of my hits that I elevated were to right center gap, and I was kind of just like hitting ground balls to the 6-hole, whereas this week I'd been able to elevate some. I think some of it had to do with more of an approach, trying to be more aggressive, looking for certain pitches, and then when I see them, getting ready to pull the trigger on those. But yeah, certainly as pitching gets harder, I'm going to have less time to react, so I think it's more of just sticking with an approach and then trying to go that way. I think I have the ability to hit it to all fields if I need to.
And you certainly seem to like your first weekend at Alexander, on base in 11 of 16 plate appearances. And we had a unique hit-by-pitch scenario on Sunday where I thought you blew up your elbow guard. It turns out that it bounced off the elbow guard,
Yep.
and then the pitch counter in the umpire's hand is what shattered. That had to be a unique one. But just to be on base that often, first weekend at Alexander, that had to feel great as well as this story continues to evolve.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's great to get on, but I got to score a lot too, and that goes back to my teammates driving me in. So without them, it would just be on base, which isn't as much fun. So I'm glad everyone in the lineup hit really well this week, and I'm glad we put up a lot of runs, and hopefully we keep doing that. So
There are some of you guys who redshirted last year who are making impacts this year. Brody Chrisman, we saw Corbin Malott this weekend as a pinch runner and then get a base hit as well. Just how much camaraderie is there between you three and sort of what you went through last year to get ready to play this year?
No, I love the group that I came in. Brody, Corbs, Parker. I mean, we're all very tight, and it's honestly like we love baseball, and this is what we want to do, and so we're gonna keep working at it and try to make as much impact in Purdue's lineup as we can. So I'm glad they're here, and I hope we keep continuing that.
Breck Nowick will come back soon. We saw him fielding this last weekend. He'll get back in the lineup perhaps as soon as this weekend, but definitely will be soon. You guys going to arm wrestle over the position? I would imagine there's spots for everyone. It might be a little bit of a juggling act with Greg Goff, but I would imagine he's going to get you all in there, and maybe some different ways. Might have to be creative to do it, but it does create an interesting dynamic now with two of the team's better hitters playing the same position.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how good Breck is. I mean, 2 innings he got put in at first, and he made 2 great plays. So he's obviously a great first baseman, and if that's his spot, that's his spot. I mean, Breck's been nothing but the best to me, and I'm just trying to do whatever I can do to stay in the lineup and help the team contribute. So.
Right.
Mechanical engineering major here at Purdue with an elite GPA. You mentioned the intelligence a little bit earlier, not to toot your own horn, but when you're thinking about what a pitcher might try to do to get you out, that cat and mouse game that is baseball.
Yeah.
It's a team sport, it's an individual sport masquerading as a team sport, really is what it is. But the intelligence goes a long way. We don't see a lot of engineering majors at Alexander Field. I mean, it is a tough task here at Purdue. Well, you've been able to do it so far, and I mean, was engineering part of what brought you to Purdue as much as baseball?
Oh, for sure. Like, since high school, I knew I probably wanted to do engineering. I've always loved math and science. So Purdue, being an outstanding engineering school, is definitely a contributing factor of why I came here. But just speaking on baseball, like, that's why I love baseball so much, is because some people, the thinking man's game. And so I think a lot, and so I like how I get to use my intelligence, however good it might be, to play baseball. So that makes it a lot really fun. So getting to play that is great. So.
I'm sure you don't really know it any other way, but the balancing act to be an engineering major and a baseball player, I mean, your time is scarce, I imagine, in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it since high school, really, just like taking the upper level classes and doing that. And so, I mean, it feels like I make the most of my time, and that makes me feel good as a person, utilizing the time as much as I can. So I think doing that has been fine, and I enjoy doing it, honestly.
Shout-outs for teammates, anybody we haven't talked about yet that deserves some love here on this week in Purdue
Corbs double, that was awesome. So I was hyped for that. And then, like I said, I'm can't wait for Breck to be back in the lineup.
Yeah.
Dude felt like he got on base every time this fall, and he's obviously, like you saw, a great first baseman. So can't wait to have him back in the lineup.
We close out the player segment with what we call personal preferences. We always say there are no wrong answers, Luke. We're just trying to learn more about you. We do have you pick a number, though, and we don't have 49 on here, so you can't pick your own current number.
Okay.
But between 1 and 22 this week.
I do 16. That was my number in high school.
Gotcha,
So.
16. Favorite Purdue building on campus?
Probably Walk. because it's a nice place to study, and there's a lot of people there. So.
It's also a very modern building.
Yeah.
Was not here
Yeah.
when Kyle was an undergrad student.
Don't even know what you're talking about.
It's a very cool building as well. It's all the architecture and the different things they have there. So good choice. Between 1 and 22, don't pick 16.
Don't pick 16. 2.
2. Professional team you enjoy rooting against. Against the
Well, I'm wearing the Yankees, so I'll root against the Red Sox all day.
easy. Asked and answer.
Makes sense.
Do the Yankees qualify as your favorite?
Yes,
Huh.
yes.
Yeah,
we're
2 times
gonna win
in
the
3
World
weeks
Series
now.
this year.
We'll see.
We got Juan Soto.
It's been a little bit of a drought, but you never.
Yeah,
they're always
it'll be fine.
in
It'll be
contention.
good.
That's for sure.
Yep.
All right, last one. Don't pick 2. Don't pick 16. Between 1 and 22.
9.
9. Favorite multimedia app. So we're looking at like Spotify, Netflix, ESPN. You social media guy.
Probably Spotify. I listen to a lot of music.
Okay.
So.
Do you have a favorite playlist or something that comes to mind?
Not really. I usually just put one song in and let Spotify do the rest. But I've been listening to a lot of Drake and Lil Baby recently, so that's who I listen to a lot of.
Fair enough.
So this week, stay at home with the midweek game and then Samford this weekend. I would imagine you guys want to protect your own turf. How do you go about continuing to do that?
Of course, yeah. I mean, we always want to win. But I think the main thing is just stick to what we've been doing. Having a lot of energy in the dugout obviously helps, and then just sticking to our approaches. And like Coach Goff talks about, having a Pinto mentality. You know, we want to go after whoever we're playing against and show them what we're about, and we're here to prove everybody wrong this year. So,
Luke, thanks for the time. Keep it rolling.
yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, that'll do it for this week. Of course, back next week as we continue the home stand. For Luke Gaffney, Ben Turner, and Greg Goff, I'm Kyle Charters. Thanks for watching. This is This Week in Purdue Baseball, presented by Burt Boilermaker.